Welcome to Below the Headline.
The political podcast that looks past the noise.
I'm your host Alicia. I'm joined today by Samson, Luca and Adam. We are going to be talking about the recent actions in Iran involving the US and Israel. Now, I'm sure you're all aware of what's unfolded. The US and Israel have bombed Iran, killing their supreme leader. I apologise for the pronunciation, but Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. This conflict has been mounting for some time for the following reasons: Iran's nuclear developments, proxy conflict involving groups such as Hezbollah, which have fought Israel several times, and finally, attacks on US and Israeli interests. The actions of the US and Israel have led to quite severe consequences around the Middle East, with military or retaliatory strikes in the following countries: Iraq, Syria, Qatar, Israel, Lebanon, Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, Cyprus and Jordan, as well as a British military base in Cyprus experiencing a drone attack, marking the first attack on a European country. The UK has allowed the US to use its military bases for quote-unquote defence, but we will soon see if this will be exploited for more than that. Now, I'd like to start off by looking at the uncertain future. What do we believe is going to unfold over the next few days, and may it be the start of World War III? Who would like to start off?
I would like to begin by saying this could be the start of World War III. It's not only inflammatory, but it's also dangerous and feeding into the media storm that plagues the 21st century. Okay, this conflict is no different than what happened in Iraq or what happened in Afghanistan. It's very clearly just a means of overthrowing the leadership of Iran, because quite frankly, they are one of the most disgusting and appalling regimes in the world when it comes to human rights abuses and just the intolerable way they mistreat their own citizens in the name of their religion. And I absolutely welcome any means of overthrowing this government, because if you want to get really technical with this, you have what constitutes a just war. And in my opinion, this is a just war, because you're overthrowing a regime that is intolerable.
So even if it's to turn into World War III and the UK is to
But it's not going to turn into World War III. I'm not sure why you keep saying this.
Well, we can get into this because of the strikes onto the British military bases, it could bring us in. And also, China's apparently been sending drones to Iran, and so that might link them in.
If what you're referring to with it bringing us in is like Article 5 of NATO, which is where if one member is attacked, all the others get called in. It's not that, because we already had our planes in the air, so we were already involved. And if you want to get that technical, we are technically the aggressors in this situation, because America and Israel launched the first strikes. And even if it did bring all of NATO in, that doesn't mean it's going to be World War III. It would just be a similar situation to Afghanistan, which is actually the only time in history that article has been invoked. After 9/11, America invoked the article saying that all of NATO needs to be brought in because it was an attack on a NATO member, which it was. 9/11 was a politically charged attack on the United States. All of them got called in, and Afghanistan happened, Iraq happened, etc. I don't think Iran will be too dissimilar from both those cases.
Okay, very nice. Now, Luca, I'll ask you a question. So, do any diplomatic solutions exist to reduce tension after such a dramatic escalation?
So can we find a peaceful conclusion to the... Yeah, absolutely, I think we can.
Can we? How so?
Yes. I think you get to a certain point where countries being bombed and a regime cripples where there's nothing else they can do except surrender and go through diplomatic negotiations.
You think Iran's going to surrender?
Yeah, eventually, I think...
but after they've bombed so many countries around them?
Absolutely. Eventually, Iran's going to fall. You know, the protests they're going to run out of bombs. They're being struck so many times. You know, I think anyone who says Iran will make it through this with this regime is deluded.
Okay. Now, Adam. So, how may Keir Starmer's response to the conflict determine the UK's involvement?
He stated that we aren't going to have any direct influence on the conflict. For example, like sending drones, missiles, anything of our own. However, we are still quite heavily involved, and in my opinion, we basically are in this conflict at this point. We're using our bases for American missiles and, I believe, drone sites. I would imagine, I haven't read it anywhere, but I imagine they're refueling and using our bases for things such as radar, for detecting missiles, and also, just simply British citizens are quite heavily involved. If you look at like Dubai, for example, many are involved there, and striking British bases is enough.
I'll just say, just to clarify, I think that Starmer said at the moment they will only let the Americans use their bases, our bases, sorry, for strikes on missile centres and where
I think they
where
said
missiles have
defence,
been
though,
held.
no?
Well, yeah, but that is their idea of
Okay,
defence.
okay,
Just
yeah.
for the listeners. Adam, do you think this is justified? Interested to your opinion.
As in the initial strikes.
Yes. And then the UK. Do you think we should get involved?
I agree that it's that the regime that was in place was heavily wrong. It needed to go. However, I'm not sure it's been done the correct way. I think just slinging missiles towards another nation won't solve all of its issues. Yes, it may kill the leader. It may dissolve the.
So how is it slinging missiles if we've had a targeted assassination on the head of the regime?
Well, it's not just the head of the regime. There have been multiple other places, no?
Yeah, and multiple other important people in the regime have been taken out. Multiple other bases have been taken out. It was Trump who said that the majority of Iran's navy is now at the bottom of the ocean because of a missile strike. They also strike the base where the navy has to dock. So a lot of those ships have also been damaged. It's not just endlessly slinging missiles around for the crack. It is what is now modern warfare, where you use missiles and drones and things like this to target important key locations and to take them out swiftly. We've seen probably in the last 2-3 days more than if this war were to go on for a protracted amount of time and Iran were to say we're going to fight till the bitter end, the last 3 days will probably prove to be the most decisive, and the first week will prove to be the most decisive because that's the nature of modern warfare. I mean, look at Ukraine. The first week was the most decisive week of the entire war because after Russia's failed offensive on Kiev, they've been forced to dig in, and we're still in that situation now. It will be the same in Iran. If this war doesn't end within the next month, 2-3 months, it will go on like Afghanistan and Iraq did until eventually the regime is toppled by hostile means.
Can Iran sustain a war for that long with missiles and things though? Like I can't imagine they have much supply coming in, and I can't imagine, especially when they've been striked themselves, if they can keep up production.
Well, I'm not saying I believe the war will go on for that long. I do think the war will be over in the next month to 3 months because I think that internally Iran is not stable enough to have this sort of conflict. I mean, they did sort of go out on day one and say, don't worry, we've got the food supplies and we've got the money supplies. I don't think they have the money supplies. You only have to look at their current economic crisis that caused all the protests during Christmas to say, yeah, Iran's not in a position to wage war. The timing of these missile strikes were very key. They did it, I think, at the right time. I think they waited long enough to do so because if they waited any longer, Iran might have started to stabilize themselves and just shoot anyone who goes out in the streets trying to protest again.
Wait, let's see. Just what are your thoughts on this? Think this war is justified?
Quite frankly, I don't think that the US has gone about it the right way. I mean, I don't think that bombing, say, hospitals or schools is right. You know, bombing senior leadership and killing their supreme leader, that's probably the right way, but I don't think that the excess things were necessary. Killing civilians, I can't support that in any context, even if it's a corrupt country and all that.
To jump in back on that as well, I don't think we can tell how effective this has been so far for not at least a week or so until they have a at least semi-stabilized government back involved in Iran.
And what will happen? Do you reckon the US will come in like it did in Venezuela and just take over? I mean,
where would they invade from? I mean, a coastal invasion is going to be very difficult.
Well, they're saying that they might use the Chagos Islands because they've not fully gone through yet, and I think I know they might bomb them from there or so. And I don't know if that's just
well, that does just show how important the Chagos Islands are and how they're the only ones in that region.
Completely vital position. So yeah, I don't know all the facts on that, but yes, possibly. And of course, the US has a ton of bases in the Middle East which are currently being bombed. I worry that it will escalate, and like Samson says, we're already involved, but we're not at war with them yet.
No.
They're using our bases, the US is using our bases, but we're not at war, we're not bombing them ourselves. And so if they are to attack a British military base, I'd fear that we would actually get involved in a war and British personnel will die due to it.
But I think this idea that this is the Armageddon and we're going into World War III is bananas. Though I think it's quite under a bit of control at the minute. And if anyone's at home worrying, then rest assured, because there's no chance an Iranian missile's getting here. And if you look at the strikes in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, the only explosions have been caused by shrapnel falling from the bombs. All of them are being intercepted, so
I think
it's quite on lockdown, I suppose.
when I'm referring to World War III, I'm more referring to the way that the US has handled like Venezuela and then Iran. So they're being very, very aggressive. They're not acting like an ally to their European allies, and so I wonder if that will escalate. Not this specifically, but if it will lead in the future to US being a massive, unstable country as it is now, and when the most powerful, richest
How is the United
country in the
States
world.
unstable?
Oh goodness, should we go into this?
Well, yeah.
Oh, where are you going with this?
No,
How
I'm
is-
curious.
How is this a slippery slope that will lead to World War III? Please enlighten us.
Yeah. So I'd start with Trump. Trump is not trustworthy. We've all seen the way that he's handled
But
his
it's-
allies.
It's aggressive, I suppose.
Very aggressive. He's pushed us away. He's in fact pushed us towards China. And with his bombing, it's so unpredictable that I don't think that he's going to be trusted.
Would you have rather had this regime carry on killing civilians who are protesting, using their human right of protest, than
Quite frankly, I don't know.
the leader being
I
killed?
don't know enough about Iran to comment on it.
Okay.
You're saying that the way Trump has done this is unpredictably. Has he not been saying for the past month, we're moving ships in, we're going to strike Iran, we're going to
It's-
strike Iran? It's not come as a surprise to anyone. I wasn't shocked when I woke up on the Saturday morning
In
and
that
saw the
Premier Inn.
strikes happen in that Premier Inn. I wasn't shocked. It was coming.
Well, no. Of course, the Iran bombing's been coming for a while, but again, it's his thing. Why does he, as a president, feel the need to bomb another country? It's quite frankly not.
Why did
to do with
Obama feel the need to bomb other countries? Why did George Bush feel the need to bomb other countries?
Almost every president.
What's your point? Just because it's the orange man, he's evil. Ugh. It's the nature of the United States to do this in the name of freedom.
Maybe I'm just coming at it from a perspective that he's going against, say, NATO. Something that's meant to work with diplomacy and it's meant to, kind
There
of
is no
stay
room to
international.
negotiate with a regime that guns people down on the streets for the fundamental human right of going outside without having to wear a face covering. There is nothing wrong with attacking a regime that does that, because as the West, as NATO, as the USA, as the United Kingdom, the whole values of our society is things such as the rule of law, the right to demonstrate, the right to have a vote. And Iran as a country goes against all those rights, and they use religion as this awful thing to justify it. We know it's not about religion inherently. It's about the sort of insecure need of an unstable regime to cling on to what it's got. And that's what it's been doing for the past few months. It's been clinging on. It's been gunning down people in the streets. And once you reach that sort of involuntary state, there's only so far you have to go before there's nothing to lose, and then it's even more dangerous than it is now. And I think that by striking now, it's the right thing to do. If we had waited any longer, who knows what situation Iran could have got into, and perhaps they could have prepared themselves better than they have now, where they're sort of just, lashing out. I have this image in my head of a toddler throwing all their toys out the pram. That's what Iran are doing. They're just launching these missiles at whoever they can in the region, and they're not doing that much, really.
Yeah, well, maybe it is just my bias because I'm not fond of Trump. But I don't think that America nor Iran are in particularly good positions.
What do you mean by good position?
I mean,
Like morally good, or
as in their leaders are very corrupt, bad people. I mean, you only have to look to the Epstein
How was Donald
files.
Trump?
You only have to look to the Epstein files to realise that he's not a great guy. He's mentioned so many times in it.
It's quite an ad hoffem argument.
Does how nice a person being, although he is technically a felon or was at one point, does it affect their ruling capability?
Ooh.
I'm not saying I agree with
Absolutely
Trump,
not.
but
No,
I
just-
agree with you
question.
there, Adam.
I actually do agree with Adam there. Look, if Trump, regardless of the fact that he was in the
So is that
No,
Look,
in the
that's
court of
Look,
law?
the question I was
He
going to
raped little
ask,
children.
is if Kamala Harris was in charge of America, where would we be right now on Iran, for example?
It's
Probably in
it's
World War
interesting.
III.
No, we obviously the US wouldn't have bombed Iran in the first place.
So what would they have done? Stood on the side and said, "No, please don't kill those people, please."
Well, the thing is,
Because that's what I'm getting from
Don't.
your view
One
on this
word, don't.
debate. The
People
view
in
that I'm
the-
getting is you just want to stand on the side and say, "Oh no, look what they're doing in Iran. They're shooting people. What are we gonna
Well,
do?"
maybe we
And we
should
just
look-
stand at the side and do nothing about it.
Maybe we should look a little bit close to the US. I mean, I'm sure that Kamala Harris wouldn't be cutting funding to something like Medicare, so that literally billions of people in America aren't going to have healthcare in the future.
Oh no, but she'd be letting in every illegal alien. You know,
Oh gosh, let's
The border
let's not
would
go
be
off it.
the border
wide
would be
open.
wide
Come on
open,
in.
Exactly.
As it is.
No,
in
the
UK.
drug. Yeah, as it is in the UK. I don't think we should have an open border in the UK. You know.
Have you seen the asylum reforms that they've
Yes.
just done? What do you think
Interesting.
of them? I think they get 30 months or something.
Yeah, I think
Whatever,
it's
it's
30.
too little, too late for the Labour Party. They just need to give up already. They're doing my head in.
You know, failed policy after failed policy. All we need to do now is just leave the ECHR. Leave the ECHR and get them deported. You know, with this one in one out scheme failed miserably, but let's see what they can do with this. But I'm not hopeful for it really,
Well,
especially after that Gorton and Denton by-election. But it does look like Starmer's going to just hold on as long as he can. Go on, Adam.
To jump back to Iran, to focus a bit more on what we're here to debate, was there really, or do we think there was really any solid proof or like a likelihood that Iran did have nuclear weapons? It's like the Iraq issue. Was there really weapons of like of destruction?
Well, given the fact that the nuclear capabilities of Iran were blown up last year in the 6-Day War, I think that's proof enough that Iran are trying to do something sinister with nuclear weapons.
So you're saying that a couple of months ago in June or July, when they bombed all the the nuclear enriching sites, whatever it is, so Iran today wasn't developing nuclear weapons, so therefore the strikes aren't justified.
I never said an opinion, it's just a question.
I'm asking. What do you think, Adam?
What if they were building?
Do we have proof Iran are enriching nuclear weapons today? Or
I can imagine information like that's not been released.
So why do you think that America struck Iran?
Because they probably know a lot more than we do. Plus, I do agree that if Iran had nuclear weapons, it would be quite a large issue. It'd just make another like small scale Middle Eastern Cold War.
Well, no, the whole issue with Iran having nuclear weapons is that with their whole axis of evil, or the axis of resistance that they like to call it, the whole policy of that is anti-Israel in a way beyond any sort of policy that you might see from other countries. I mean, it was in Hezbollah and Hamas's manifestos and their sort of like creed that they want the destruction not just of the state of Israel but of all Jewish people. And if you have a government like Iran with nuclear weapons, you can sort of see where the fear in Israel is coming from. I mean, imagine this conflict if Iran did have nuclear weapons. Let's say we didn't bomb the enrichment sites last year and we were going into this war with a nuclear power. I don't think the Iron Dome's doing too much to stop a load of nuclear bombs.
And so what's the end game, though? I mean, is the US's intent just to destroy the regime altogether, or is it to actually...
Well, yeah, it's to topple...
They wouldn't have dropped a bomb if they didn't think they could topple
So
it.
if this were to go on for a few months, would it just be repeated bombing of the country until there's nothing left?
Not necessarily, no.
What's their
Military
intention?
infrastructure, I suppose.
It's not like carpet bombing just endlessly. It's bombing the
It's
key
concentrated.
sites. I mean, eventually there won't be any more key sites to bomb, and once those go, the regime will go with it. They won't have any capacity to
So
fight
it's just
a war.
to completely obliterate the country.
It's to obliterate the military capabilities. The regime falls, and then I don't know beyond that what they're going to do. I don't know if he's going to do what he did in Venezuela, where he just turns to the reformist faction of the Islamic Republic and says, "Hey, you guys can take charge now," or if he's going to go to the exiled Shah, who's currently living in America, and say, "You can come in and lead a transitional regime," because without being like too revealing of my own beliefs, he has been preparing his whole life for this moment where the fall of the Islamic Republic, and he's said quite clearly he wouldn't even want to be the monarch immediately, just to be a figurehead who's in charge of this transitional regime where you start bringing back fundamental human rights, such things like the right to demonstrate, the right to go out and wear what it is that you want, things like this. That's so important for a nation like Iran, which is so diverse and so rich in culture and has had their culture completely restrained for the past 40 or so years.
Yeah, I agree. But there's so many people that do still support the supreme leader. I mean, I don't know if you've seen all the riots in the streets, but
And do you think...
my point is that they would probably have to bomb the majority of it if there's so many people still supporting
Look, my
it, because
question-
they'll always still come up and...
Here's a question for you then. Do you
Okay,
think
then.
they're supporting it out of their own personal belief or the fear that they'll get shot if they don't?
I don't know. I don't know the mindset of these people.
I'm
I've
sure
never
there
been
are
there.
some people who are brainwashed and, you know, like...
Obviously.
It'll be
But,
like
but
North
look at
Korea.
what happened in Germany after the war. You know, there were still loads of
They all
Nazis
deny
after
it.
the war, obviously.
So
but
yeah, I guess that's a
same will
question
happen again.
to look for in the future. I mean, once they've presumably obliterated the regime, if the people are going to turn around and say, no, we never supported them in the first place, we were only doing it out of fear, that'll be very interesting.
that
to
will be
see.
very interesting.
Okay, well, we'll end it there. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.